the aliens that are good aliens can communicate with us in a much different way, and they don't have to put implants in us, and they don't have to, abduct us. And so the ones that do the abducting typically are grays or reptilians, are the ones you really don't want to deal with.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, Mary, you know how many people swear up and down that the Greys are here to save mankind? And I cringe when I hear that all the time. I really do. I mean, people, it's like folklore. They believe a lot of stuff that they read, and, unless something happens to them, then, I don't know. It's just a lot of misinformation that's being dumped out over the internet.
Right. And so we just need to do what we can to get people to be a little bit more cautious. And that does not mean that we totally negate the whole subject, because it is not all bad.
Oh, no. I do think there might be some species of aliens out here that, are probably not going to do anything, one way or the other towards man. But I would think after this amount of time, still, like I had a trucker on my show here recently. It claims when he was going in or coming out of the desert in Texas, all of a sudden he just noticed a light out of his cab window on the driver's side, and he looks and he saw this bright light, and he sees this cow going up in the sky. And he pulls over and looks, and he doesn't see a helicopter. He doesn't hear a helicopter. He doesn't see any chain or any rope, but he sees this cow going head first up in the sky.
Being beamed up.
Or something.
I think pretty much beamed up. I think that's the way it's done.
Yeah, and then when they're done, they just drop them out.
Right. And I think they just use the biological material for their genetic research.
The same way, I think what they do is with the people that they abducting, and the same thing. Some of these pictures I've seen, laser precision, removal of different things out of the body. It's scary.
Mm-hmm. But there's a whole other aspect, and it almost borders on the spiritual. People, there's one man that I know, and he was having bad experiences where he would have a reptilian come into his bedroom at night, and he would be like a little kid and hide himself under the sheets. And if a reptilian walked into my bedroom, I would be scared to death too. And we met Evelyn Gordon, who is a co-founder with this website. She and I met with him one day and talked with him and gave him a whole lot of different kinds of information on how to deal with things like that. And he never had a reptilian come back into his life again, but he did have a totally different experience. He had a terrible, I don't know what it's, thrombosis or whatever, where the whole leg is just swollen, and the doctors were afraid that, he could easily die if that clot moved. And one night there was something, it appeared like, some people would think it would be like an angel or a spirit, but I do think that many of the more advanced aliens have the ability to move in and out of our dimension. And this being, who would probably fall in the category more of like a Pleiadian, appeared at the foot of his bed, was just there briefly, and after that he woke up in the morning and his leg was completely back to normal. So there was no discussion, there was no trauma, there was no fear, and when he woke up, he was healed. So that is an example of the good aspect of the very evolved ETs, because they have abilities way beyond what we human beings have, and those particular ones are not out to abduct us and screw around with us.
Oh, and you're so right.
They saved this man's life, probably.
Sounds like it. Hey, I got to do a 1-minute break here. After the break, I want to talk about Antarctica. I want to talk about anything you want to talk about for the next half an hour, and talk about your books and stuff. So we'll be right back, and I'm going to put you on hold so I'm not hanging up on you. We'll be back in about a minute.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, we're back with Mary Joyce, and how you doing after that break?
Just enough break to take a stretch.
Okay, that's exactly what I did. Actually, I had to get a bottle of Coke, which the doctor told me to quit drinking. Any news going on about, well, the Earth changes, like the magnetic field or anything? Have you been hearing any more information about that?
Well, how closely do you want to stick to the UFO subject?
Well, I kind of feel that has a little bit about to do with it, but I want to stay pretty much with the UFO, yes.
Okay, perhaps your listeners would just like to make a note that if they go to the website, skyshipsovercashers.com, and I'm going to give them something real specific because I wanted to see something that I've only seen, from what we posted. Go to the website, click on Global Links, and go to the 2013 archives. Scroll way down to the bottom and then scroll back up. And basically what it's about is that a man from the Netherlands contacted me back in 2013, and he was a computer whiz, and he got the NASA photos of the huge, what I call true motherships that appear around the sun, and he was able to dust and clean these, and the incredible detail of these, began to emerge. And he sent us a number of photos. I think people would find them very interesting. The shapes are quite varied and quite different than what we think of in terms of UFOs. But anyhow, I'm going to repeat it again. Go to Global Links, scroll down way to the bottom, and just look at the photos as you scroll back up. I've never seen these kind of photos anywhere. I've seen blurry ones of them, but I've never seen them where they're cleaned up, where you can see a lot more detail. And so anybody interested in UFOs really should take the time to take a look at those.
Oh, yeah.
And they were done by a man, his last name is Admos, and he's from the Netherlands. And I was just delighted that he contacted us with this information.
Well, one thing I do like about your website, I mean, a person could spend days getting the information, and you have the information, that nobody else actually has out there. And that's what I even like about your website. I mean, you can find so much, anything from UFOs to magnetic earth changes to Bigfoot to little people. I mean, it's a lot of very good reading on that. And I know...
It's only because I get bored very easily. So, I mean, I have to be finding new stuff all the time.
Well, do you ever have a chance to sleep? I mean, gee.
Oh, yes, certainly. I keep all this in balance.
Well, I know with my show, I spend about 12 hours a day, preparing for the show, booking guests, and doing research on guests. So, I mean, wow, you accomplish a lot.
Well, you're very kind. I appreciate it. Another thing that we're going to post within the week has to do with the fires out in California. And basically, we're presenting information that will make everyone at least seriously consider that those fires may have been started by laser weapons. And to start with, normal dry wood will start burning at like 300 to, I'll round these figures off, 300 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. And there were many pictures from like the Paradise Fire where the houses completely disappeared and the trees were still standing. Now, the houses are made out of like aluminum siding that melts at over 1,200 degrees, and glass that melts over 1,300 degrees, and steel that melts over 2,500 degrees. And cement does not melt, but it will decompose between 1,000 and 1,600 degrees. So some of these pictures show the homes totally demolished. They're almost like disintegrated, and yet these trees are still standing, and that is just plain weird. And then there was a young man, and he was trying to find routes out of the fire, and I should give him credit. His name is Matthew McDermott, and he lives in Sonoma, California, and he saw this tree that was a hollow tree. It was burning from the inside, not from the outside in, but from the inside of the tree to the outside. And there were elliptical shape, I'll call them wounds or scars on the tree. You begin to tie this together with the fact that back in 2015, the U.S. Air Force was presenting information, and so was Lockheed Martin, the construction, the company that builds all this kind of things for the military. And they were projecting that they would have jets, viable jets, by 2020 that would have laser weapons that would be very accurate from great distances. And we show pictures of those, the prototypes that were back and flying back in 2015. So by now, I'm sure they're in full operation. If one of those beams were to come down from the air from such a jet, it would make an elliptical cut into like a tree. It wouldn't be round because it would be at an angle. So that tree almost looks like it was target practice. But that fire was not normal. I mean, it's just insane that the trees would stand and everything else would turn to rubble.
Well, yeah, and there's been so many different stories about it. One, they blamed it on, somebody, with a campfire. The other one, they blamed it on the power company, that one of their towers, cables was sparking, and that caused the fire. And, I noticed that, too, in some of the pictures on the news media. There was houses, like you were talking about, nothing left on the property. But here's some, fruit trees and trees that just look totally normal, in the yard. And I would think the amount of heat that would have been generated, number one, you burn the house down. Even if it has aluminum siding, there's still going to be, wood, framing and all that stuff inside and all that stuff to disintegrate the house. And, it's almost like when somebody, burns up and they're sitting in their chair and their leg is intact, or the rest of their body is gone, and then the chair is not touched at all and doesn't have any signs of any burn marks. It's just kind of strange, like you're talking about these trees. And there's one picture, I was looking at it, and it was a whole bunch of trees all around front, side of the house, all that not touched, but no house left.
And as you already know, but your listeners may not, we always, or almost always, have photos with anything that we post. And in this thing that will be posted within the week, we have one of those pictures showing the disintegration of the buildings with the trees still standing. We show 3 different models or prototypes of the jets, and you can see that the photos are coming from the U.S. Air Force, and they have the laser beams. And then we have the picture of the tree that this young man got a picture of that's burning on the inside and not on the outside. Go figure that one.
I never seen a tree burn on the inside. I always would think it would start on the outside. I just can't see how it would start on the inside. So if there's anybody out there, a scientist or somebody could explain that to me, you can certainly get a hold of me through nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. I'd really like to know that answer.
Yeah, there's more to be learned about this, I'm sure. And